Welcome, truth seekers and mythbusters. Ever find yourself nodding along to something everyone knows to be true, only to have a tiny voice in your head whisper, "Is that really right?" Well, today we're silencing that tiny voice with cold, hard facts. Get ready to have your mind blown as we tackle the dumbest everyday myths busted. Prepare to unlearn, because what you thought you knew might just be completely wrong. Let's dive in. 1. 10% brain theory. All right, let's kick things off with one of the most persistent brain bogglers out there, the idea that we only use a measly 10% of our brain. This myth suggests that if we could just unlock the other 90%, we'd all be telekinetic super geniuses. It's a fantastic premise for sci-fi movies, but utterly false in reality. The truth is, we use virtually all of our brain, almost all the time. Neuroimaging techniques like fMRI and PET scans show activity distributed across the entire brain, even during simple tasks like talking or listening. Different areas specialize in different functions, but they all work together in a complex symphony. Damage to any part of the brain, no matter how small, almost always results in some sort of functional deficit. From an evolutionary standpoint, it makes no sense to carry around a large, energy-intensive organ if 90% of it is just dead weight. So, while you might not be able to move objects with your mind, rest assured your whole brain is firing on all cylinders, making you the incredible, complex individual you are. No untapped superpowers lurking in the unused 90%, just a fully engaged, magnificent organ. 2. 5-sec food rule. Next up, a classic from playgrounds and kitchens everywhere, the infamous 5-second rule. You drop a cookie on the floor, look around, declare 5-second rule, and pop it in your mouth. We've all done it, probably. The comforting thought is that germs need a little time to migrate onto your tasty treat. Unfortunately, bacteria don't operate on a timer. Studies have definitively shown that bacteria can transfer from a surface to food almost instantaneously, in less than a second, in fact. The rate of transfer depends on several factors: the type of food, moister foods pick up bacteria faster, the surface material, rougher surfaces can hold on to bacteria more readily, but transfer can still occur, and the amount of bacteria present. So, while the risk might be low in some situations, especially on very dry surfaces with dry food, the 5-second rule offers no magical shield against microscopic invaders. It's more of a convenient excuse than a scientific principle. If you drop it, it's probably best to just let it go. Your immune system might forgive you, but science certainly doesn't endorse the practice. 3. Brain is a computer. For our third myth, let's tackle a comparison that often oversimplifies one of the most complex things in the known universe: the idea that the brain is essentially a biological computer. While the analogy can be useful for understanding certain aspects of information processing, it's fundamentally misleading. Computers are digital, operating on binary code, zeros and ones, with distinct hardware and software components. The brain, on the other hand, is an analog system, massively parallel and incredibly dynamic. It doesn't have separate hardware and software. Its physical structure is its function, constantly rewiring itself through neuroplasticity based on experience. Our thoughts, emotions, memories, and consciousness aren't simply data being processed by a CPU. They emerge from the intricate, non-linear interactions of billions of neurons. A computer processes information based on programmed algorithms. The brain learns, adapts, and creates meaning in ways that no current computer can replicate. While AI is advancing rapidly, it still operates on principles vastly different from the organic, living, evolving network that is the human brain. It's a living organ, not a machine. 4. You can catch up on lost sleep. Ever burn the midnight oil for days, then promise yourself you'll catch up on sleep over the weekend? This common belief that you can simply bank extra sleep or fully recover from sleep debt is largely a myth. While a little extra sleep on a Saturday morning might make you feel temporarily refreshed, it doesn't fully undo the damage caused by chronic sleep deprivation. Your body and brain accumulate a sleep debt when you consistently get less sleep than you need. The effects of this debt, impaired cognitive function, mood disturbances, and increased risk of health problems, aren't easily erased by a few extra hours of slumber. Think of it less like a bank account where you can make deposits and withdrawals, and more like trying to repair a leaky roof with a single patch. You might stop the immediate drip, but the underlying structural damage remains. Consistent, adequate sleep is crucial for optimal health and cognitive function. You can't truly catch up. You can only try to get back on track and prioritize proper rest going forward. 5. Dim light ruins eyes. Here's one that parents have been telling their kids for generations. Don't read in the dark, you'll ruin your eyes. The idea that reading or working in dim light can permanently damage your vision is a persistent myth. While it's true that straining your eyes in low light can lead to temporary discomfort, fatigue, headaches, and even dry eyes, it does not cause permanent damage to your eyesight. Your eyes are incredibly resilient and adaptable. When you're in dim light, your pupils dilate to let in more light, and your eye muscles work harder to focus, which is why you might feel that strain. But once you move into a well-lit environment, your eyes recover, and any temporary discomfort subsides. It won't give you myopia or any other lasting vision problems. So, while it's certainly more comfortable and less tiring to read or work with adequate lighting, you can relax, knowing that a late-night session under a weak lamp isn't going to send you to the optometrist for a stronger prescription. 6. Tongue has taste zones. Remember those elementary school diagrams showing a tongue divided into specific taste zones? Sweet at the tip, sour on the sides, bitter at the back, and salty somewhere in between. Well, it's time to redraw your mental map of the tongue, because this is a classic myth. The tongue map originated from a misinterpretation of a German paper published in 1901, which was then popularized and oversimplified. The truth is, all areas of your tongue, except for the very center, are capable of detecting all 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. While some areas might be slightly more sensitive to one taste over another, the difference is negligible and doesn't create distinct zones. Each taste bud, which contains multiple taste receptor cells, can respond to multiple taste stimuli. So, whether you're savoring a sweet dessert or a bitter coffee, your entire tongue is in on the action, working together to give you the full flavor experience. The taste map is a charming but incorrect piece of anatomical folklore. 7. Humans evolved from monkeys. This myth is a common misunderstanding of evolution, often perpetuated by those who want to discredit the theory, the idea that humans evolved directly from monkeys. Let's be clear, humans did not evolve from monkeys. Instead, humans and modern monkeys share a common ancestor that lived millions of years ago. Think of it like a family tree. You and your cousin share grandparents, but you didn't evolve from your cousin. Similarly, humans and monkeys are like cousins, branching off from a common primate ancestor. Over millions of years, different lineages evolved along separate paths, adapting to different environments and developing distinct characteristics. Humans belong to the hominid family, characterized by bipedalism, walking on 2 legs, larger brains, and complex tool use. Monkeys, on the other hand, continued their own evolutionary journey. So, while we share a deep evolutionary history and many genetic similarities with other primates, we are not the descendants of any currently living monkey species. We are simply different branches of the same ancient tree. 8. Fingerprints are unique. The idea that every single fingerprint on Earth is absolutely unique is a cornerstone of forensic science and a common belief. While it's true that fingerprints are incredibly distinctive and have been used for identification for over a century, the absolute scientific proof that no two fingerprints are identical, even among identical twins, is actually harder to pin down than you might think. The uniqueness of fingerprints relies on the vast complexity of ridge patterns, bifurcations, and minutia points. The sheer number of possible variations makes the probability of two identical fingerprints astronomically small. However, proving a negative, that no two exist, is scientifically challenging. What we can say with certainty is that based on millions of comparisons over decades, no two identical fingerprints have ever been found, leading to the practical conclusion that they are unique enough for identification purposes. So, while a definitive, universal proof remains elusive in a philosophical sense, for all practical intents and purposes, your fingerprints are indeed a one-of-a-kind biological signature. 9. Opposites attract. Opposites attract. It's a catchy phrase, often used to explain why two seemingly different people fall in love. While there's a certain romantic appeal to this idea, especially in fiction, the reality of human relationships is a bit more nuanced. In physics, opposite charges attract, but in psychology, the evidence suggests that likes attract more often than not. Studies consistently show that people tend to be drawn to others who share similar values, interests, backgrounds, and even personality traits. This is known as assortative mating. While a little bit of difference can certainly add spice and novelty to a relationship, fundamental disagreements or vastly different lifestyles can lead to conflict and dissatisfaction in the long run. Shared understanding, common goals, and mutual interests often form a stronger foundation for lasting relationships. So, while a quiet person might occasionally be drawn to a boisterous one, or an adventurous soul to a homebody, these are often superficial differences. Deeper compatibility usually stems from shared ground, not stark opposition. 10. Microwaves cause cancer. The microwave oven has been a kitchen staple for decades, but it's also been the subject of persistent fear-mongering, particularly the myth that microwaves cause cancer. Let's set the record straight. Microwave ovens cook food by generating electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum, which causes water molecules in food to vibrate rapidly, generating heat. This is a form of non-ionizing radiation, meaning it doesn't have enough energy to remove electrons from atoms or molecules, which is the type of damage that can lead to DNA mutations and cancer. Unlike ionizing radiation, like X-rays or gamma rays, microwaves simply heat things up. The energy dissipates quickly once the microwave is turned off. Microwave ovens are designed with shielding to prevent radiation leakage, and strict safety standards are in place. As long as the oven is in good working order and used as intended, there's no scientific evidence to suggest that it causes cancer or makes food radioactive. So, feel free to zap your leftovers without fear. It's a perfectly safe and convenient cooking method. 11. Alcohol kills brain cells. Here's a myth that's been used to scare teenagers and justify hangovers for generations. Drinking alcohol kills brain cells. While excessive alcohol consumption is undeniably harmful to the brain and can lead to various neurological problems, it doesn't literally kill brain cells in the way many people imagine. What alcohol primarily does is damage the dendrites, the branched endings of neurons that transmit messages. This damage can make it harder for neurons to communicate with each other, impairing cognitive function and leading to problems with memory, learning, and coordination. Chronic heavy drinking can also reduce the volume of the brain and interfere with neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells in certain areas. So, while the cells themselves might not be dropping dead en masse, their ability to function effectively is severely compromised, and prolonged abuse can indeed lead to cell loss over time through indirect mechanisms. The takeaway: alcohol definitely harms brain function and structure, but the simple kills brain cells statement is an oversimplification of a complex process. 12. Can't fold paper 7+ times. This is a fun one to try at home. the myth that you can't fold a piece of paper in half more than 7 times. It's a challenge that many people have attempted, and most quickly hit that 7-fold wall. While it feels like an unbreakable rule, it's not strictly true that it's impossible. The limitation isn't about some inherent property of paper or the universe, it's about the exponential growth of the paper's thickness and the decreasing surface area with each fold. With every fold, the paper doubles in thickness, and the area available for the next fold halves. By the 7th fold, a standard sheet of paper becomes incredibly thick and small, requiring an immense amount of force to achieve another fold. However, with a sufficiently large and thin piece of paper and enough mechanical assistance, it is possible to exceed 7 folds. In fact, in 2002, a high school student, Brittany Gallivan, demonstrated that a very long roll of toilet paper could be folded 12 times. So, while challenging, it's not an absolute impossibility, just a practical limitation for typical paper sizes and human strength. 13. Dilated pupils means attraction. You're on a date and you notice their pupils are dilated. Aha, you think, they're attracted to me. While it's true that pupil dilation can be a sign of attraction or arousal, it's a significant oversimplification to assume it's always the case. Dilated pupils, a phenomenon known as mydriasis, can be caused by a wide variety of factors. These include changes in light levels. Pupils naturally dilate in dim light to let in more light, certain medications, drug use, both recreational and prescribed, medical conditions, and even intense cognitive effort or emotional states like fear or surprise. So, while your date's wide eyes might be a sign of burgeoning romance, they could just as easily be reacting to the dim restaurant lighting, or perhaps they're just really concentrating on what you're saying. It's one piece of the puzzle in nonverbal communication, but definitely not a standalone indicator of attraction. Don't base your entire romantic strategy on pupil size alone. Context is always key. 14. Sneeze stops heart. Bless you, we say after a sneeze, often followed by the old wives' tale that your heart momentarily stops. It's a dramatic thought, but thankfully completely untrue. Your heart does not stop when you sneeze. What actually happens is that the pressure in your chest cavity briefly increases due to the forceful exhalation, which can momentarily affect blood flow and heart rhythm. You might experience a slight change in your heart's electrical activity, a brief pause, or a minor change in rhythm, but it's not a full stop. Your heart is a remarkably resilient and independent organ. It has its own electrical system and keeps beating regardless of a sneeze. The vagus nerve, which connects to the heart, can be stimulated during a sneeze, causing a temporary decrease in heart rate, but it's a fleeting moment and not a cessation of function. So next time you feel a sneeze coming on, don't worry about your ticker. It's perfectly capable of handling the momentary pressure change. 15. TV ruins eyes. Another parental warning that's been passed down through generations. Don't sit too close to the TV, you'll ruin your eyes. This myth, like the one about dim light, is largely unfounded when it comes to permanent damage. While staring at a screen for too long, especially up close, can lead to temporary eye strain, fatigue, headaches, and dry eyes, often called digital eye strain or computer vision syndrome, it does not cause permanent damage to your vision or lead to conditions like myopia. Early televisions, particularly black and white sets, did emit some low-level radiation, which fueled some of these fears, but modern TVs are perfectly safe. The discomfort you feel is usually due to reduced blinking, focusing fatigue, and the brightness and contrast of the screen. Taking regular breaks, the 20-20-20 rule, every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds, ensuring proper lighting, and maintaining a comfortable viewing distance are good practices, but you won't permanently damage your vision by binge-watching your favorite show. 16. Always stretch before exercise. For decades, the conventional wisdom was to always stretch before exercise to prevent injury. You'd see athletes dutifully performing static stretches, holding a stretch for 30 seconds or more. However, modern sports science has largely debunked this always stretch myth, particularly for static stretching before activity. Research now suggests that static stretching before exercise can actually decrease muscle power and performance, and it doesn't significantly reduce the risk of injury. In some cases, stretching a cold muscle too aggressively might even increase injury risk. The current recommendation is to perform a dynamic warm-up before exercise, which involves movements that mimic the activity you're about to do, like leg swings or arm circles. Static stretching is best reserved for after exercise, when muscles are warm, to improve flexibility and range of motion. So ditch the pre-workout static stretches and get moving with a dynamic warm-up instead. Your muscles will thank you. 17. Bats are blind. Blind as a bat is a common idiom, but it's entirely inaccurate. Bats are not blind. In fact, all bats can see, and some species have excellent eyesight, even better than humans in low light. The myth likely originated because many bat species are nocturnal and rely heavily on echolocation, emitting high-frequency sounds and interpreting the echoes to navigate and hunt in the dark. This incredible sensory ability allows them to create a detailed sound map of their surroundings, making them incredibly agile hunters and flyers in complete darkness. However, their eyes are still fully functional and play a role in their navigation, especially in brighter conditions or for long-distance travel. For instance, fruit bats, which often forage during twilight hours, have large eyes and rely more on vision and smell than echolocation. So, while echolocation is a bat's superpower, it doesn't mean their eyes are useless. They simply have multiple tools in their sensory toolkit. 18. Antibiotic kills all germs. In the age of superbugs and antibiotic resistance, it's crucial to understand this myth. Antibiotics kill all germs. This is fundamentally untrue and dangerous. Antibiotics are specifically designed to target and kill bacteria or inhibit their growth. They are completely ineffective against viruses, which are responsible for illnesses like the common cold, flu, and most sore throats. Taking antibiotics for a viral infection is not only useless, but also harmful, as it contributes to antibiotic resistance. When you take antibiotics unnecessarily or don't complete the full course as prescribed, you expose beneficial bacteria in your body as well as any remaining harmful bacteria to the drug. This allows the stronger, more resistant bacteria to survive and multiply, leading to the evolution of superbugs that are harder to treat. So, remember, antibiotics are a powerful tool against bacterial infections, but they are not a magic bullet against all germs. Always consult a doctor to determine if an antibiotic is truly needed. 19. Shaving makes hair thicker. This is a classic beauty myth that has plagued teenagers and adults alike for generations. Shaving makes your hair grow back thicker, darker, or coarser. It's a completely understandable misconception, given how stubble feels and looks after a shave. However, it's biologically impossible. Shaving simply cuts the hair shaft at its thickest point, leaving a blunt, flat tip. When this hair starts to grow back, it feels coarser because of that blunt edge, not because the hair itself has changed. Hair naturally tapers to a finer point, so when the blunt, thicker part first emerges, it appears darker and feels rougher. Shaving also doesn't affect the hair follicle beneath the skin, which is what determines hair growth, thickness, and color. Hormones and genetics are the true determinants of hair characteristics. So, whether you're shaving your face, legs, or any other part of your body, rest assured that you're not altering the fundamental nature of your hair. It's just a temporary illusion. 20. Cracking knuckles cause arthritis. Many people have been warned by concerned parents or grandparents that cracking their knuckles will inevitably lead to arthritis. This myth is so pervasive that it's often cited as a reason to stop the habit. However, extensive scientific research has largely debunked this claim. Multiple studies, including a notable one that followed a doctor who cracked knuckles on one hand for over 50 years, have found no statistically significant link between knuckle cracking and the development of arthritis. The sound you hear when cracking knuckles is believed to be caused by the collapse of gas bubbles, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide within the synovial fluid that lubricates your joints. While cracking your knuckles might annoy those around you, and in rare cases could potentially lead to minor soft tissue injury if done with extreme force, it does not cause the degenerative joint disease known as arthritis. Arthritis is typically caused by genetics, aging, injury, or autoimmune disorders. So, crack away if you must, but don't blame it on future joint pain. 21. Goldfish memory. The phrase goldfish memory is often used to describe someone with a very short attention span or poor recall, based on the popular myth that goldfish only have a memory span of a few seconds. This is completely false and does a great disservice to our finned friends. Research has consistently shown that goldfish have surprisingly good memories, far exceeding a mere few seconds. They can be trained to respond to specific signals, navigate mazes, and even remember feeding times and locations for months. Studies have demonstrated that goldfish can remember patterns, colors, and even specific sounds over extended periods. For example, some have been trained to push a lever for food and remember that skill weeks later. This ability to learn and retain information for significant durations indicates a memory far more robust than the popular myth suggests. So, next time you hear goldfish memory, remember that it's a dismissive and inaccurate stereotype. These little fish are smarter than we give them credit for. 22. Swallow spiders in sleep. This is one of those creepy crawly myths that sends shivers down spines. The idea that the average person swallows several spiders in their sleep each year. Thankfully, this is pure fiction, a widespread urban legend with no basis in reality. Spiders are not interested in crawling into your mouth while you sleep. They are generally shy creatures that avoid large, warm-breathing animals, and the vibrations caused by a sleeping human would deter them. Furthermore, your mouth is not an inviting environment for them. It's wet, loud with breathing and heartbeats, and offers no real benefit to them. While it's theoretically possible for an extremely rare accident, it's certainly not a regular occurrence. The myth likely plays on our innate fear of spiders and the vulnerability we feel when asleep. So, you can rest easy tonight knowing that your sleep isn't a buffet for arachnids. Your mouth is safe, and your spider intake is almost certainly zero. 23. Eating before bed makes you fat. For years, people have been told that eating anything before bed will inevitably turn into fat. The idea is that your metabolism slows down during sleep, making it harder to burn off those calories. While it's true that your metabolism shifts during sleep, it doesn't grind to a halt. Your body still requires energy for essential functions like breathing, circulation, and cell repair. The truth is, it's not when you eat that causes weight gain, but how much you eat and your overall calorie intake throughout the day. If you consume more calories than you burn, regardless of the time of day, you will gain weight. Eating a large, heavy meal right before bed might lead to indigestion or disrupt your sleep, which can indirectly affect weight management by impacting hormone regulation. However, a small, healthy snack before bed, if you're genuinely hungry and it fits within your daily calorie goals, is unlikely to cause weight gain. Focus on your total daily intake and the quality of your food, not the clock. 24. Lightning strikes once. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. It's a comforting thought, suggesting that once an area has been hit. However, this is a dangerous and entirely false myth. Lightning absolutely can, and frequently does, strike the same place multiple times. Tall, isolated structures, in particular, are repeat targets. The Empire State Building, for example, is struck by lightning dozens of times every year. The reason is simple. Lightning is attracted to the path of least resistance to the ground, and tall objects provide that path. If a location is prone to strikes due to its height, conductivity, or geographical features, it will continue to be a target during subsequent storms. This myth likely originated from a misunderstanding of probability or a desire to feel safe after a close call. So, if you've seen lightning strike nearby, don't assume you're in the clear. Seek shelter immediately, as lightning is indiscriminate and can strike anywhere, anytime, multiple times. 25. Sugar makes kids hyper. This is perhaps one of the most widely believed myths among parents, that sugar makes kids hyperactive. You give a child a piece of cake or a sugary drink, and a few minutes later, they're bouncing off the walls. It seems like an obvious cause and effect, right? However, numerous scientific studies, including meta-analyses, have consistently failed to find a direct causal link between sugar consumption and hyperactivity in children. The perceived sugar rush is more likely due to a combination of factors. These include the excitement and context of the situation, parties, treats, holidays, the child's expectations, they've been told sugar makes them hyper, and the caffeine often found in sugary drinks. Parents' expectations can also play a role, making them more likely to notice and attribute energetic behavior to sugar. While excessive sugar isn't healthy for other reasons, it's not the primary culprit behind your child's boundless energy. Blame the party, not the cupcake. 26. Coffee stunts growth. Another classic parental warning: don't drink coffee, it'll stunt your growth. This myth has been around for generations, often used to deter children and teenagers from consuming caffeine. The good news for coffee lovers is that there is absolutely no scientific evidence to support this claim. The origin of this myth is a bit murky, but it might stem from a general distrust of coffee's effects or a misinterpretation of early research. Some theories suggest it could be linked to concerns about caffeine's diuretic effect, leading to calcium loss, but studies have shown no significant impact on bone density or growth in adolescence. Growth is primarily determined by genetics, nutrition, and overall health. While excessive caffeine intake isn't recommended for children due to potential effects on sleep, anxiety, and heart rate, it won't physically prevent them from reaching their full height potential. So, enjoy your morning brew without worrying about shrinking your stature. 28. Wall of China visible from space. This is a truly grand myth, often repeated as a testament to human engineering, that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure visible from space. While the Great Wall is undoubtedly an incredible feat, it is not visible from Earth's orbit with the naked eye. Astronauts and scientists have repeatedly debunked this claim. From low Earth orbit, where the International Space Station flies, many man-made structures are visible, such as cities, major roads, and bridges. But the Great Wall, despite its length, is relatively narrow and blends in with the surrounding terrain. It lacks sufficient contrast to be easily discernible without magnification. The myth likely originated from a combination of awe for the wall's scale and a misunderstanding of orbital distances. While it might be faintly visible under very specific conditions, for example snow cover, certain lighting, and with specialized equipment, it's certainly not a prominent feature that jumps out at you from space, like say a brightly lit metropolitan area at night. 29. Touch birds. Don't touch a baby bird or its mother will abandon it because of your scent. This myth is a common piece of advice given to well-meaning individuals who find a fallen nestling. While it's generally best to leave wildlife undisturbed, this particular reason for not touching birds is largely untrue. Most bird species have a very poor sense of smell, certainly not keen enough to detect human scent on their offspring and then reject them. Birds are primarily driven by visual and auditory cues when it comes to recognizing their young. If a baby bird has fallen from a nest, its parents are much more likely to abandon it due to its location, predator risk, or if it's injured, rather than because it smells faintly of human. In fact, if you find a healthy nestling that has fallen, the best course of action is often to gently return it to its nest. The parents will almost certainly continue to care for it. So, while you should still be cautious with wildlife, don't let the scent myth stop you from helping a fallen bird. 29. Mom leaves. This myth, often linked to the previous one about birds, is a broader concern about human interference with wild animals. That if a human touches a baby animal, its mother will smell the human scent and abandon her young. While it's always advisable to give wild animals their space and avoid unnecessary contact, the idea of maternal abandonment due to human scent is largely exaggerated, especially for mammals. Most mammals have a much better sense of smell than birds, but their maternal instincts are incredibly strong. A mother animal is far more likely to abandon her young if she perceives a direct threat, if the young are injured beyond recovery, or if the disturbance is severe and prolonged. A brief touch or the presence of a human scent is usually not enough to override these powerful instincts. In many cases, if you find a seemingly abandoned baby animal, its mother is likely nearby, foraging, and will return once you're gone. The best approach is to observe from a distance and only intervene if the animal is clearly in danger or injured, contacting wildlife rescue if necessary. 30. Heat escapes via head. Put on a hat. You lose most of your body heat through your head. This common advice, especially popular in colder climates, suggests that the head is a disproportionately large radiator of body heat. While it's true that you lose some heat through your head, just as you do from any other exposed part of your body, the idea that it's the majority of heat loss is a myth. This misconception likely originated from old military experiments where subjects were exposed to cold conditions while wearing special cold weather gear but no hats. Naturally, they lost a significant amount of heat from their uncovered heads. However, if the entire body is exposed, the head accounts for only about 7 to 10% of total heat loss, similar to other body parts of comparable surface area. The more surface area exposed, the more heat you lose. So, while wearing a hat is definitely a good idea to stay warm in cold weather, it's not because your head is some kind of super radiator. It's just another part of your body that benefits from being covered. 31. You can sweat out toxins. Many people believe that a good, intense sweat session, whether from exercise, a sauna, or a hot yoga class, can help you sweat out toxins from your body, leading to a cleansing effect. While sweating is a vital bodily function for regulating temperature, the idea that it's a primary mechanism for detoxifying your body is largely a myth. Your body's main detoxification organs are your liver and kidneys. These organs efficiently filter waste products, metabolize harmful substances, and excrete them through urine and feces. Sweat, on the other hand, is primarily composed of water, with small amounts of electrolytes like sodium and potassium, and trace amounts of other substances like urea. While minuscule amounts of certain heavy metals or chemicals can be found in sweat, the quantities are negligible compared to what your liver and kidneys process. So, while sweating can make you feel good and is a sign of a good workout, don't rely on it as a major detox pathway. Your liver and kidneys are doing the heavy lifting. 32. Carrot improves night vision. Eat your carrots. They'll help you see in the dark. This age-old parental plea is a myth with an interesting origin. Carrots are rich in beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A, and vitamin A is essential for good vision, particularly in low light conditions. A severe deficiency in vitamin A can indeed lead to night blindness. However, eating an abundance of carrots beyond your body's basic needs will not give you superhuman night vision or allow you to see in pitch black. The myth was actually propagated during World War II by the British Royal Air Force. They wanted to hide the fact that they were using newly developed radar technology to detect German bombers at night, so they spread propaganda claiming their pilots' exceptional night vision was due to eating lots of carrots. It was a clever diversion tactic. So while carrots are healthy and good for maintaining overall eye health, they won't turn you into a nocturnal predator. 34. Touch frog, get warts. Many of us grew up hearing the warning, "Don't touch that frog or toad, you'll get warts." This myth is a classic piece of childhood folklore, but it's completely untrue. Frogs and toads do not cause warts in humans. Warts are actually caused by the human papillomavirus, HPV, a viral infection that enters the skin through small cuts or scrapes. You get warts from contact with other people who have warts or from contaminated surfaces, not from amphibians. The misconception likely arose because some toads have bumpy, warty-looking skin, and some species secrete toxins from glands in their skin as a defense mechanism. While it's always a good idea to wash your hands after handling any wild animal and to avoid putting your hands in your mouth, you won't catch warts from a frog or toad. So, next time you see a friendly amphibian, you can admire it without fear of developing unsightly growths on your hands. 35. Organic is always healthier. The term organic often conjures images of pristine farms, superior nutrition, and a healthier lifestyle. The myth is that organic food is always healthier and more nutritious than conventionally grown food. While organic farming practices often have environmental benefits, like reduced pesticide use and improved soil health, the nutritional differences between organic and conventional produce are often negligible. Numerous studies have compared the nutritional content of organic and conventional foods and found no consistent, significant differences in vitamins, minerals, or other nutrients. While organic foods may contain fewer pesticide residues, the levels found in conventional produce are generally considered safe by regulatory bodies. Organic also doesn't automatically mean healthy. Organic junk food is still junk food. So, while choosing organic can be a personal preference based on environmental concerns or a desire to avoid certain chemicals, it's not a guarantee of superior health benefits. A varied diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, regardless of organic certification, is what truly matters for health. 35. All bees die after stinging. This myth often leads to a false sense of security around certain stinging insects, the belief that all bees die after stinging. This is true for one specific type of bee, the honeybee. When a honeybee stings, its barbed stinger, along with part of its digestive tract, muscles, and nerves, is ripped from its body and remains embedded in the victim's skin. This fatal injury means the honeybee dies shortly after. However, this is not true for other types of bees, such as bumblebees, or for wasps and hornets. These insects have smooth stingers that they can retract, allowing them to sting multiple times without dying. The honeybee's unique barbed stinger is an evolutionary adaptation that helps it defend its hive more effectively, as the embedded stinger continues to pump venom. So, while it's sad for the honeybee, don't assume every buzzing insect that stings you has sacrificed itself. Many are quite capable of repeat offenses. 36. Multitasking makes you more productive. In our fast-paced world, multitasking is often seen as a badge of honor, a sign of efficiency and productivity. The myth is that juggling multiple tasks simultaneously makes you more effective and gets more done. However, scientific research consistently shows that true multitasking, doing two or more tasks at the same exact time that require cognitive effort, is largely a myth. What we typically do when we multitask is actually task switching. Our brains rapidly shift attention from one task to another, a process that is inefficient and comes with a cognitive cost. This constant switching can lead to decreased performance, increased errors, reduced attention span, and even a longer time to complete tasks overall. It can also increase stress and decrease the quality of your work. While some automatic tasks can be paired, like walking and talking, for anything requiring focus, single tasking is far more effective. So, ditch the illusion of multitasking and give your full attention to one thing at a time for genuine productivity. 37. Camels store water in their humps. The iconic image of a camel traversing the desert often comes with the popular belief that its hump is a clever storage tank for water, allowing it to survive long periods without a drink. This is a persistent myth. Camels do have an incredible ability to go long stretches without water, but their humps are actually composed of fatty tissue, not water. This fat serves as a concentrated source of energy, which the camel can metabolize when food is scarce. When the fat is metabolized, it does produce some metabolic water as a byproduct, but this is a minor contribution to its overall hydration needs. The fat in the hump also helps to insulate the camel from the desert heat by concentrating heat-producing fat in one area, rather than distributing it throughout the body. Camels have other amazing adaptations for water conservation, such as efficient kidney function and the ability to tolerate significant dehydration. But water storage in the hump is not one of them. 38. Reading ruins eyesight. Don't read in the dark, don't read too much, don't read too close. These admonitions often come from the myth that reading, especially in certain conditions, can permanently ruin your eyesight. Similar to the TV myth, this is largely untrue. While prolonged reading, especially in poor lighting or with insufficient breaks, can lead to temporary eye strain, fatigue, headaches, and dry eyes, it does not cause permanent damage to your vision or lead to conditions like myopia, nearsightedness. Your eyes are remarkably resilient. The strain you feel is your eye muscles working hard to focus, and once you rest your eyes, they recover. Myopia is primarily influenced by genetics and environmental factors, like spending too little time outdoors, not by how many books you read. So, while it's always a good idea to take breaks, ensure good lighting, and maintain a comfortable reading distance to avoid discomfort, you can enjoy your favorite books without fear of permanently damaging your precious vision. 40. Men think about sex every 7 seconds. Here's a myth that's often repeated for a chuckle or to stereotype an entire gender, that men think about sex every 7 seconds. This wildly exaggerated claim is completely untrue and has no basis in scientific research. If men genuinely thought about sex every 7 seconds, they would be thinking about it approximately 8,000 times during a 16-hour waking day, a frequency that would make it impossible to concentrate on anything, let alone function in daily life. Studies on sexual thoughts show that while men generally think about sex more often than women, the frequency is far less extreme, typically several times a day for men and less for women, varying greatly by individual. The every 7 seconds myth is a humorous but inaccurate exaggeration, likely perpetuated by popular culture and a misunderstanding of human psychology. So, rest assured, men and women are capable of thinking about a wide array of topics, not just one every few seconds. 41. Napping is lazy. In our hustle culture, napping is often viewed as a sign of laziness or a waste of productive time. The myth suggests that if you're truly dedicated, you should push through the day without needing a nap. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Napping, when done correctly, can be a powerful tool for boosting productivity, improving alertness, enhancing cognitive performance, and reducing stress. A short power nap of 20 to 30 minutes can significantly refresh the brain without inducing grogginess. Studies have shown that naps can improve memory, creativity, and problem-solving skills. They can also help offset the negative effects of sleep deprivation, though they can't fully replace a full night's sleep. Many successful individuals throughout history, from Winston Churchill to Salvador Dali, were avid nappers. So, ditch the guilt. Incorporating a strategic nap into your day isn't a sign of laziness, it's a smart way to optimize your brain function and well-being. 42. Gum stays 7 years. Don't swallow your gum, it'll stay in your stomach for 7 years. This dramatic warning has been terrifying children for generations. Thankfully, it's a complete myth. While chewing gum is not digestible in the same way food is, it doesn't just sit in your stomach for years. The human digestive system is incredibly robust and designed to handle a wide range of substances. While the gum base itself isn't broken down by stomach acids or enzymes, your body simply passes it through your digestive tract and expels it, usually within a few days, just like other indigestible materials, like corn kernels or fiber. The only real concern with swallowing gum is if you swallow a very large amount or many pieces in a short period, which could potentially cause a blockage, especially in young children with smaller digestive tracts. But for a single piece, it's a harmless journey through your system. So while it's still probably best not to make a habit of swallowing gum, you don't need to fear a 7-year commitment. 43. Macs can't get viruses. For a long time, Apple users enjoyed a smug sense of security, believing the myth that Macs are immune to viruses and malware. While it's true that historically, Windows PCs were targeted more frequently due to their larger market share, the idea that Macs are impenetrable is a dangerous misconception. Macs can and do get viruses and other forms of malware. As Apple's market share has grown, so too has the interest of cybercriminals. Ransomware, adware, spyware, and phishing scams are all threats that Mac users can encounter. Apple has built-in security features, and its operating system, macOS, has a different architecture than Windows, which can make it harder for some types of malware to spread. However, no operating system is 100% secure. User vigilance, keeping software updated, using strong passwords, and being wary of suspicious links or downloads are just as important for Mac users as they are for PC users. So don't let this myth give you a false sense of security. Macs need protection too. 44. Pee on a jellyfish sting. When stung by a jellyfish, many people immediately think of the old remedy seen in movies and TV shows: pee on it. The myth is that urine can neutralize the venom and relieve the pain. However, this is absolutely false and can actually make the sting worse. Human urine varies in its chemical composition and is unlikely to have the right pH or chemical properties to effectively neutralize jellyfish venom. In fact, the fresh water in urine can sometimes cause the remaining stinging cells, nematocysts, on the skin to fire, releasing more venom and increasing the pain. The best first aid for most jellyfish stings is to rinse the area with seawater, not fresh water, to remove any remaining tentacles. Then apply vinegar, acetic acid, or rubbing alcohol, which can help deactivate the stinging cells. Heat packs or hot water, as hot as tolerable, can also help with pain relief. So next time you're at the beach, skip the golden shower and opt for scientifically proven methods. 46. 8 glasses a day. Drink 8 glasses of water a day. It's a health mantra repeated everywhere, often presented as a universal rule for optimal hydration. While staying hydrated is crucial for health, the rigid 8 glasses a day rule is largely a myth and an oversimplification. The amount of water an individual needs varies greatly based on activity level, climate, diet, health status, and even body size. You also get a significant amount of water from the foods you eat, especially fruits and vegetables, and other beverages like tea and coffee. There's no scientific consensus on a precise, universal daily water intake. A good rule of thumb is to listen to your body's thirst cues. If you're thirsty, drink water. Your urine color can also be a good indicator. If it's pale yellow, you're likely well hydrated. While staying well hydrated is important, don't feel pressured to force down exactly 8 glasses if your body isn't asking for it. Focus on consistent, mindful hydration rather than an arbitrary number. 47. No pregnancy on periods. This is a dangerous myth that has led to many unintended pregnancies. The belief that a woman can't get pregnant during her period. While the probability of conception is generally lower during menstruation, it is not impossible. Sperm can survive inside the female reproductive tract for up to 5 days, and in some cases, even longer. If a woman has a shorter menstrual cycle, or if she ovulates earlier than average, it's possible for sperm from intercourse during her period to still be viable when ovulation occurs a few days later. Additionally, menstrual cycles can be irregular, and what a woman perceives as a period might actually be implantation bleeding or another form of spotting, which can occur at any point in her cycle. Therefore, relying on menstruation as a form of birth control is extremely risky and ill-advised. Conception is possible at various points in the cycle, and safe sex practices should always be followed to prevent unwanted pregnancies. 48. Dogs only see black and white. For a long time, it was a widely accepted myth that dogs see the world only in shades of black and white. This misconception likely arose from early scientific understanding of canine vision. However, modern research has debunked this. Dogs are not colorblind in the way we typically think of it, seeing only grayscale. They do see colors, but their color vision is different from ours. Humans have 3 types of cone cells in their eyes, allowing us to see a full spectrum of colors: red, green, blue. Dogs, on the other hand, are dichromatic, meaning they have only two types of cone cells. Their color spectrum is similar to that of a human with red-green color blindness. They primarily see in shades of blue and yellow, with green and red appearing as variations of yellow or gray. So, while they don't experience the vibrant reds and greens we do, their world is far from monochromatic. They perceive a colorful, albeit different, reality. 48. Starving fever makes you heal. Feed a cold, starve a fever. This old adage implies that restricting food intake when you have a fever will help you recover faster. However, the idea of starving a fever is a dangerous myth. When you have a fever, your body is fighting an infection, and this process requires a significant amount of energy. Your metabolic rate increases, and your body needs nutrients and calories to fuel its immune response and repair damaged cells. Restricting food intake during a fever can actually hinder your recovery by depriving your body of the essential fuel it needs. While you might not feel like eating much when you're sick, it's important to try to consume nutritious foods and, most importantly, stay well hydrated. The focus should be on providing your body with the support it needs to fight the illness, not on withholding sustenance. So listen to your body, eat what you can, and drink plenty of fluids when you're battling a fever. 49. Left brain versus right brain. The left brain versus right brain myth is a popular concept suggesting that people are either left-brained, logical, analytical, mathematical, or right-brained, creative, artistic, intuitive. While it's true that different hemispheres of the brain have specialized functions, lateralization, the idea that individuals predominantly use one side over the other, or that one side is inherently dominant for a personality type, is a significant oversimplification and a myth. Neuroscientists have found no evidence that people are left-brained or right-brained. Brain imaging studies show that both hemispheres are active and interconnected, working together for almost all cognitive tasks. Even highly creative tasks involve logical processing, and analytical tasks can benefit from intuitive leaps. While language processing might be more localized to the left hemisphere for most people, and spatial awareness more to the right, these functions are integrated. So, your creativity and your critical thinking skills are a product of your entire brain working in harmony, not one side overpowering the other. 50. Brown eggs are healthier. Walk into a grocery store and you'll often find brown eggs priced slightly higher than white eggs, leading many consumers to believe the myth that brown eggs are inherently healthier or more nutritious. This is simply not true. The color of an eggshell is determined solely by the breed of the hen that laid it. Hens with white earlobes typically lay white eggs, while hens with red or brown earlobes typically lay brown eggs. There is no significant nutritional difference between brown and white eggs. Both contain the same amount of protein, vitamins, and minerals. Any minor variations in nutrient content are more likely due to the hen's diet and living conditions, not the shell color. The perception of brown eggs being healthier might stem from an association with natural or farm-fresh products or the higher price point. So, next time you're at the store, choose your eggs based on preference or price, not on the color of their shell. Nutritionally, they're identical. 51. Tilt head for nosebleeds. This is a common piece of advice for nosebleeds that is actually counterproductive and potentially dangerous, tilting your head back to stop a nosebleed. The myth suggests that by tilting your head back, you'll stop the blood flow. However, what actually happens is that the blood runs down your throat, potentially making you swallow it. Swallowing blood can lead to nausea, vomiting, and even aspiration into the lungs, which can be serious. The correct first aid for a nosebleed is to lean forward slightly, not back, and then firmly pinch the soft part of your nose, just below the bony bridge, for 10 to 15 minutes, breathing through your mouth. Applying a cold pack to the bridge of your nose can also help. So remember, lean forward, pinch, and breathe through your mouth. Don't let this dangerous myth lead you to swallow your own blood. 52. Early birds are more successful. The saying, "the early bird catches the worm," has evolved into a pervasive myth that early risers are inherently more successful, productive, and virtuous than night owls. While some highly successful people are indeed early risers, this is not a universal truth, nor is it a prerequisite for success. Our sleep-wake cycles, known as chronotypes, are largely determined by genetics. Some people are naturally morning larks, while others are night owls. Forcing a night owl to wake up early against their natural rhythm can lead to sleep deprivation, decreased performance, and negative health outcomes. Success is about optimizing your most productive hours, whatever time of day they may be. Many successful individuals, particularly in creative fields, thrive in the later hours. Focusing on consistent, quality sleep and aligning your work schedule with your natural chronotype rather than adhering to an arbitrary early bird ideal is what truly contributes to well-being and achievement. 50. Creativity needs talent. I'm just not a creative person. How often have you heard that, or even said it yourself? This statement often stems from the myth that creativity is an innate talent, a gift bestowed upon a lucky few. The truth is, while some individuals might have a natural inclination or aptitude, creativity is not solely dependent on innate talent. It's a skill that can be cultivated, practiced, and improved through effort, exposure, and technique. Creativity involves problem solving, connecting disparate ideas, experimenting, and refining concepts, all processes that can be learned and honed. It's less about a magical spark and more about cultivating a curious mindset, embracing failure, and persistently exploring new approaches. Like any muscle, the more you exercise your creative faculties, the stronger they become. 54. Wi-Fi is dangerous. In our increasingly connected world, concerns about electromagnetic fields, EMF, are common, leading to the myth that Wi-Fi radiation is dangerous and causes health problems like cancer, headaches, or sleep disturbances. While it's true that Wi-Fi routers and devices emit radio frequency, RF, electromagnetic fields, this is a form of non-ionizing radiation. This means it has very low energy and cannot cause direct damage to DNA or cells in the way that high-energy ionizing radiation, like X-rays or gamma rays, can. The levels of RF exposure from Wi-Fi are typically very low, far below international safety limits established by organizations like the World Health Organization. Numerous scientific studies and reviews have been conducted on the health effects of Wi-Fi and mobile phone radiation, and the overwhelming consensus among major health organizations is that there is no consistent evidence to suggest that typical Wi-Fi exposure poses a health risk. So you can stream, browse, and connect without undue worry about your router zapping your health. 55. Brain games make you smarter. The market is flooded with apps and programs promising to boost your IQ, improve memory, and enhance cognitive function through brain games. The myth is that these specific games will make you generally smarter across the board. While practicing a particular brain game might make you better at that specific game, the scientific evidence for significant transferable improvements in overall cognitive abilities, intelligence, or real-world tasks is largely lacking. This is known as the transfer problem. You might become a whiz at a memory matching game, but that doesn't necessarily translate into better memory for your grocery list or improved problem solving at work. What does help maintain cognitive health and potentially improve various brain functions are activities like learning new skills, reading, engaging in social interaction, regular physical exercise, and a healthy diet. So, while brain games can be fun, don't rely on them as a shortcut to becoming a genius. Real-world engagement and a healthy lifestyle are far more effective. 56. Cats always land on their feet. This common saying highlights a remarkable feline ability, but it's a myth to believe it's an absolute guarantee. Cats possess an incredible righting reflex that allows them to orient their bodies mid-air, twisting to land on their paws. This reflex, combined with their flexible spines, light bone structure, and low terminal velocity, makes them incredibly adept at surviving falls. However, always is a strong word, and it's not foolproof. The success of their landing depends on several factors, including the height of the fall, there's an optimal height for them to complete their rotation, the surface they land on, and their age or health. Very short falls might not give them enough time to right themselves, while extremely high falls can still result in serious injury or death, despite a perfect landing. So, while cats are masters of aerial acrobatics, don't assume they're immune to the laws of physics or impervious to harm from falls. 57. A penny drop can kill. Here's a dramatic myth often fueled by urban legends, that dropping a penny from a skyscraper could kill someone below. The idea is that the penny would accelerate to such a high speed that it would become a deadly projectile. Thankfully, this is completely false. A falling penny would not kill someone. The primary force acting on a falling object is gravity, but as it speeds up, air resistance also comes into play. For a small, light object like a penny, air resistance quickly becomes significant, preventing it from reaching truly dangerous speeds. A penny would reach its terminal velocity, the maximum speed it can fall, relatively quickly, which is only about 30 to 50 miles per hour. While being hit by a penny at that speed might sting or cause a minor bruise, it's certainly not enough to penetrate skin or cause a fatal injury. You're more likely to be injured by a falling raindrop than a falling penny. So, put away your fears of killer coins from the sky. 58. You only dream during REM sleep. The myth that you only dream during REM, rapid eye movement sleep, is a common misconception, likely because REM sleep is when dreams are most vivid, memorable, and often story-like. However, this is not entirely true. While REM is indeed the stage most strongly associated with dreaming, research has shown that dreaming can occur during all stages of sleep, including non-REM, NREM sleep. Dreams experienced during NREM sleep tend to be less vivid, more fragmented, and often less narrative-driven than REM dreams. They might be more like thoughts or feelings rather than full-blown stories. So, while the most elaborate and unforgettable dreams typically happen during REM, your brain is actually quite active throughout the entire sleep cycle, and dreamlike mental activity can occur at any point. The brain is a busy place, even when you're deeply asleep, and it's not just during REM that it conjures up images and experiences. 59. Frozen food is less healthy. Many people harbor the myth that frozen fruits and vegetables are somehow less healthy or less nutritious than their fresh counterparts. The common perception is that freezing diminishes their nutritional value. However, this is largely untrue, and in some cases, frozen produce can actually be more nutritious. Fruits and vegetables intended for freezing are typically picked at their peak ripeness, when their nutrient content is highest. They are then quickly blanched, briefly boiled, and flash frozen, a process that locks in most of their vitamins and minerals. Fresh produce, on the other hand, often travels long distances, sits in warehouses and grocery store shelves for days, during which time its nutrient content can degrade. While blanching can cause a slight loss of some water-soluble vitamins, the rapid freezing process minimizes this. So, don't shy away from the freezer aisle. Frozen fruits and vegetables are a convenient, affordable, and often equally or even more nutritious option compared to fresh produce that might be past its prime. 60. Milk helps broken bones heal faster. Milk is often touted as essential for strong bones, and while calcium and vitamin D, often fortified in milk, are indeed crucial for bone health, the myth that drinking milk will make broken bones heal faster is an oversimplification. Milk provides the building blocks for bone repair, but it doesn't accelerate the healing process beyond what a well-nourished body would naturally do. Bone healing is a complex biological process that takes time and involves several stages, including inflammation, soft callus formation, hard callus formation, and bone remodeling. While adequate calcium and vitamin D are necessary for this process, simply consuming more milk won't magically speed it up. Other factors like proper immobilization, sufficient rest, overall nutrition, and avoiding smoking are equally, if not more, important. So while milk is a good source of bone-supporting nutrients, it's not a magic elixir for rapidly mending fractures. A balanced diet and good medical care are key for optimal healing. 61. Einstein failed math. This is a popular myth, often used to console struggling students or to suggest that genius can emerge despite academic struggles, that Albert Einstein failed math in school. It's a comforting thought, but it's completely false. Einstein was a brilliant student, particularly in mathematics and physics from a very young age. He mastered calculus by the age of 15. The origin of this myth might stem from a misunderstanding of his grades when he applied to a polytechnic school in Switzerland. He did fail the entrance exam on his first attempt, not because of math, but because he struggled with non-science subjects like French and botany. He then buckled down, passed the next year, and excelled in his chosen fields. Another possible source of confusion is that the grading system in Switzerland was different from what many are used to, with 1 being the lowest and 6 being the highest, so a 1 might have been misinterpreted as a failing grade. Regardless, Einstein was a mathematical prodigy, not a math failure. 62. All introverts hate people. The terms introvert and extrovert are widely used, but the myth that all introverts hate people is a pervasive and harmful stereotype. Introversion is not about disliking people or being antisocial. It's primarily about how an individual gains and expends energy. Introverts tend to recharge their energy through solitude and quiet activities, while social interactions, even enjoyable ones, can be draining. This means they often prefer smaller groups, deeper conversations, and may need time alone to recover after social events. They don't hate people, they simply approach social engagement differently. Many introverts have rich social lives, deep friendships, and enjoy connecting with others, but they often do so in a more deliberate and less constantly than extroverts. So let's bust this myth. Introversion is a personality trait related to energy management, not a diagnosis of misanthropy. Introverts can be just as warm, friendly, and engaged as anyone else, just on their own terms. 63. Wet hair causes cold. Don't go outside with wet hair, you'll catch a cold. This is a classic warning from parents and grandparents, ingrained in many of our minds. However, the idea that wet hair directly causes a cold is a myth. Colds are caused by viruses, specifically rhinoviruses, which you catch from other infected people, not from being cold or having wet hair. While being cold can temporarily suppress your immune system, making you potentially more susceptible to a virus if you're already exposed to one, it is not the cause of the illness itself. You can sit in a freezer with soaking wet hair and not catch a cold unless a virus is present. The myth likely stems from a correlation. People are more likely to get sick during colder months, when they might also be exposed to cold, damp conditions. However, the actual culprit is the increased indoor congregation and easier spread of viruses, not the temperature or dampness of your hair. So while it might be uncomfortable, wet hair won't give you a cold. 65. Popping a pimple spreads it. The temptation to pop a pimple is almost irresistible, but the myth that doing so will spread the infection all over your face is often used as a deterrent. While popping a pimple can indeed worsen the situation, the idea of spreading the infection in a widespread manner is a bit of an exaggeration. When you pop a pimple, you risk pushing bacteria and pus deeper into the skin, which can lead to inflammation, infection, scarring, and a larger, more painful breakout in the immediate area. It can also introduce new bacteria from your fingers. The pressure can rupture the follicle wall, spilling its contents into the surrounding tissue, leading to more pimples nearby. So while it's not like a contagious rash spreading across your face, it certainly can exacerbate the existing breakout and create new ones in close proximity. Dermatologists strongly advise against popping pimples, recommending topical treatments and professional extraction if necessary to avoid scarring and further irritation. 65. Red angers bulls. The image of a matador waving a red cape to enrage a bull is iconic, leading to the widespread myth that the color red makes bulls angry. However, bulls, like all cattle, are largely colorblind to red and green. Their vision is dichromatic, meaning they see in shades of yellow, blue, and gray. What actually agitates the bull is the movement of the cape, not its color. The matador's flashy, sweeping motions are what provoke the animal, making it charge. If the matador were to stand still and wave a white, blue, or green cape with the same vigorous motions, the bull would react in precisely the same way. The red color of the cape, the muleta, is primarily a tradition, perhaps chosen to mask the blood that might be shed, or simply for dramatic effect. So it's not the vibrant scarlet that drives the bull wild, but the provocative dance of the fabric. 66. Need motivation to start. Many people fall into the trap of waiting for motivation to strike before they can start a new task, project, or habit. The myth is that you need to feel motivated first to get going. However, this often leads to procrastination and inaction. The truth is, motivation often follows action rather than preceding it. Think of it as a cycle. Action leads to small wins, which generate a sense of accomplishment, which then fuels motivation to continue. If you wait for motivation to appear, you might be waiting forever. It's often more effective to simply start, even with a small, manageable step. Breaking down a large task into smaller components can make it less daunting and easier to begin. Once you get momentum, motivation often kicks in. So instead of passively waiting for inspiration, take that first step. Action is the spark that often ignites the flame of motivation. 67. One path to success. In a world often obsessed with success stories, there's a pervasive myth that there's a single, linear, and universally applicable path to success. This often involves specific educational backgrounds, career ladders, or a set sequence of achievements. However, the reality is far more diverse and unpredictable. Success is highly subjective and can mean different things to different people. More importantly, the journey to achieve it is rarely a straight line. It's often filled with detours, failures, pivots, and unexpected opportunities. Many highly successful individuals have unconventional backgrounds, dropped out of traditional education, or changed careers multiple times. Emphasizing a single path can be limiting, discouraging, and lead to unnecessary pressure. Instead of searching for a predefined map, it's more beneficial to cultivate adaptability, resilience, continuous learning, and a clear understanding of your own values and goals. Your path to success is unique to you, and it's okay for it to be winding. 68. Yawn means oxygen is needed. For a long time, the most popular explanation for yawning was that it's a reflex to bring more oxygen into the blood and remove excess carbon dioxide. The myth is that a yawn signifies a lack of oxygen in the brain or body. However, extensive research has largely debunked this oxygen theory. Studies have shown that people don't yawn more when there's less oxygen in the air or more carbon dioxide. The current leading scientific theory suggests that yawning primarily serves to cool down the brain. When you yawn, you take a deep breath that brings in cooler air, and the stretching of your jaw increases blood flow to the brain, both of which can help regulate brain temperature. This explains why yawning is often contagious, social thermoregulation, and why it's more common when you're tired or bored, as these states can lead to a slight increase in brain temperature. So, a yawn isn't a sign you're suffocating, but rather that your brain might need a little cool down. 69. Too old to learn. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. This adage, applied to humans, perpetuates the myth that as we age, our capacity to learn new things significantly diminishes or completely disappears. While some aspects of learning, like processing speed or rote memorization, might slow down with age, the brain retains a remarkable capacity for neuroplasticity, the ability to form new neural connections and learn throughout life. Older adults can and do learn new languages, instruments, skills, and complex subjects. In fact, some aspects of cognitive function, like wisdom, vocabulary, and pattern recognition, can actually improve with age. The key factors are staying mentally active, engaging in new and challenging activities, maintaining physical health, and having a positive mindset. So, ditch the ageist excuses. Learning is a lifelong journey, and your brain is capable of acquiring new tricks regardless of how many candles are on your birthday cake. 70. some people are just not math people. This myth is incredibly damaging and often becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The idea that some people are just not math people, or I'm not a math person. It suggests that mathematical ability is an innate talent that some possess and others don't, leading many to give up on math prematurely. However, research in cognitive science and education strongly refutes this. While individuals may have different learning styles or initial aptitudes, mathematical ability is primarily developed through effort, practice, effective teaching methods, and a growth mindset. Believing you're not a math person actually hinders your ability to learn. Anyone with proper instruction and dedication can improve their mathematical skills. It's less about innate talent and more about persistence and the belief that you can improve. So let's banish this limiting belief. Everyone has the potential to understand and even enjoy math. It's a skill, not a fixed identity. 71. Alcohol warms you up. Many people believe that drinking alcohol, especially in cold weather, will warm them up. This myth often leads to dangerous practices, particularly for those exposed to extreme cold. While alcohol might make you feel warmer due to a flush of blood to the skin, it actually has the opposite effect on your core body temperature. Alcohol is a vasodilator, meaning it causes blood vessels to dilate and move closer to the surface of the skin. This rush of warm blood to the extremities gives a temporary sensation of warmth, but it also causes your body to lose heat more rapidly to the environment. Simultaneously, alcohol impairs your body's ability to regulate its temperature, making you more susceptible to hypothermia. It also dulls your senses, making you less aware of how cold you truly are. So, while a hot toddy might feel comforting, it's a deceptive sensation. Alcohol makes you colder, not warmer, and can be dangerous in cold conditions. 72. You can detox with juice. Juice cleanse detox your body. The idea that you can eliminate toxins from your body by consuming only juices for a period is a popular and expensive myth. While fresh juices can be a part of a healthy diet, the concept of a juice detox is largely pseudoscience. Your body has its own incredibly efficient and sophisticated detoxification system, your liver and kidneys. These organs work continuously to filter waste products, metabolize harmful substances, and excrete them through urine and feces. There is no scientific evidence to support the claim that juice cleanses or other detox diets enhance this natural process or remove specific toxins beyond what your body already does. In fact, extreme juice cleanses can lead to nutrient deficiencies, muscle loss, blood sugar imbalances, and other health issues. For true detoxification, focus on supporting your liver and kidneys with a balanced diet, adequate hydration, regular exercise, and avoiding harmful substances, rather than relying on unproven fads. 73. Brain cells don't regenerate. For a long time, it was a firmly held belief in neuroscience that once you reached adulthood, your brain cells, neurons, stopped regenerating. The myth was that you were born with a finite number of neurons, and once they died, they were gone forever. This idea contributed to the alcohol kills brain cells myth. However, exciting research over the past few decades has largely debunked this. We now know that neurogenesis, the process of creating new neurons, does occur in certain areas of the adult brain, particularly in the hippocampus, a region crucial for learning and memory. While the rate of neurogenesis is not as prolific as during development, it demonstrates that the adult brain is more plastic and capable of repair and growth than previously thought. This discovery has profound implications for understanding learning, memory, and potential treatments for neurological diseases. So, your brain isn't a static organ, it continues to generate new cells and adapt throughout your life. 75. Toilet water spins opposite in Australia. This is a fun and persistent myth, often used to illustrate the Coriolis effect, the idea that toilet water, or water draining from a sink, spins in one direction in the northern hemisphere and the opposite direction in the southern hemisphere, e.g. clockwise in the north, counterclockwise in the south. While the Coriolis effect is a real phenomenon that influences large-scale weather patterns like hurricanes, it is far too weak to affect the direction of water draining from a toilet or sink. The force of the Coriolis effect is minuscule at such small scales. The direction of the swirl in your toilet or sink is actually determined by more dominant factors: the shape of the basin, the angle at which the water enters, imperfections in the plumbing, or even the initial momentum of the water when you flush. So, if you travel to Australia, you'll find toilets flushing in both directions, completely unaffected by the Earth's rotation. It's a fun thought, but scientifically inaccurate. 77. Ostriches bury their heads. The image of an ostrich burying its head in the sand when frightened is a classic cartoon trope and a widely believed myth, often used to describe someone avoiding a problem. However, ostriches do not bury their heads in the sand. This myth likely originated from observing their nesting behavior or their foraging habits. Ostriches dig nests in the sand, and when they are tending to their eggs, they will often lie down and stretch their long necks along the ground to blend in with the surroundings, making them appear as if their heads are buried. They also use their beaks to turn their eggs in the sand, which could give the impression of a buried head from a distance. When an ostrich senses danger, its primary defense mechanisms are to run, they are incredibly fast, or to fight with powerful kicks. Burying their head would leave them vulnerable and exposed, so they're not hiding from danger, they're either camouflaging themselves or caring for their young. 78. Closing apps saves battery. With the rise of smartphones, a common myth emerged that constantly closing apps running in the background will save battery life and improve phone performance. Many users diligently swipe away apps from their recent apps screen, believing they're being efficient. However, for modern operating systems like iOS and Android, this is largely untrue and can even be counterproductive. When you close an app, you're often just suspending it in a low-power state, putting it into a frozen memory state where it consumes minimal battery. The operating system is designed to manage these background apps efficiently. Force quitting an app actually removes it from memory completely, meaning that the next time you open it, your phone has to fully load it from scratch, which uses more processing power and therefore more battery. So, unless an app is genuinely misbehaving or consuming excessive power, which you can check in your battery settings, it's generally best to let your phone's operating system manage background apps. 79. Cutworms grow too. This is a common and often gruesome myth from childhood. If you cut an earthworm in half, you'll get 2 worms. While earthworms do have remarkable regenerative abilities, it's not quite that simple. If you cut an earthworm in half, you will almost certainly not get 2 living worms. Typically, only the head end, containing the brain and vital organs, has a chance of regenerating a new tail. The tail end, lacking these crucial components, will usually die. Even the head end's survival depends on where the cut was made, its overall health, and environmental conditions. If the cut is too far back, or too much of the vital organs are damaged, regeneration won't occur. So, while an earthworm's resilience is impressive, don't go around chopping them up in the hopes of creating a worm army. It's more likely to result in 1 dead worm and 1 struggling, potentially dying half. 80. Cats purr only when they are happy. The gentle rumble of a cat's purr is often associated with contentment and happiness, leading to the myth that cats only purr when they are feeling joyful. While purring certainly accompanies moments of bliss, like being petted or fed, it's a significant oversimplification to say it's only a sign of happiness. Cats purr for a variety of reasons, many of which are not related to joy. They purr when they are stressed, anxious, injured, giving birth, or even dying. This is thought to be a self-soothing mechanism, similar to how humans might hum or rock themselves when distressed. The frequency of a cat's purr, typically between 25 and 100 Hz, has even been linked to promoting bone density and healing. So, while a purring cat is often a happy cat, it's also a cat that might be in pain, scared, or trying to heal itself. It's a complex vocalization with multiple functions. 81. You have to forgive to heal. The idea that you must forgive someone who has wronged you in order to truly heal and move on is a pervasive myth, often promoted as a universal truth in self-help and spiritual circles. While forgiveness can be a powerful and beneficial process for some, it is not a mandatory step for healing, nor the only path. Healing is a deeply personal and complex journey. For some, forgiveness brings peace and release. For others, it might feel like condoning harmful behavior or betraying themselves. Healing can also involve setting boundaries, accepting what happened, grieving, and finding ways to live with the pain without letting it consume you, even without explicitly forgiving the perpetrator. The pressure to forgive can actually be counterproductive and re-traumatizing for some individuals. So, while forgiveness is an option, it's a choice, not a prerequisite for emotional recovery. Your healing path is yours to define. 83. Napoleon was short. The image of Napoleon Bonaparte as a famously short man is deeply ingrained in popular culture, leading to the term Napoleon complex for aggressive individuals compensating for their perceived small stature. However, the myth that Napoleon was unusually short is largely untrue. At the time of his death, Napoleon's height was recorded as 5 feet 2 inches in French units. While this sounds short, the French inch, pouce, was longer than the English inch. When converted to modern English measurements, Napoleon was approximately 5 feet 6 inches tall, which was actually around the average height for a French man in the late 18th and early 19th century. The myth likely originated from a combination of factors: British propaganda during wartime that sought to belittle him, and the fact that his imperial guard, who often surrounded him, were exceptionally tall, making him appear smaller by comparison. So, Napoleon was not a dwarf. He was an average-sized man whose height was distorted by history and propaganda. 83. Sharks cannot get cancer. This myth, often attributed to the idea of sharks being perfect predators, suggests that these ancient creatures are somehow immune to cancer. While it's true that sharks have remarkable immune systems, and some compounds from shark cartilage have been explored for anti-cancer properties, though without proven success in humans, the idea that sharks cannot get cancer is false. Sharks, like virtually all multicellular animals, can and do get cancer. Scientists have documented various types of tumors, including malignant ones, in numerous shark species, both in the wild and in captivity. The misconception likely arose from early, less comprehensive studies, or a desire to find a cure in nature. While some aspects of their biology might make them more resistant to certain types of cancer or show lower incidences compared to other species, they are not immune. So, while sharks are incredible creatures, they are not exempt from the biological realities of disease. 84. Reading faster is always better. In our information-overloaded world, the idea that reading faster is always better has become a pervasive myth, leading many to seek out speed-reading techniques. The assumption is that consuming more words per minute automatically translates to better comprehension and efficiency. However, this is not always the case. While speed reading can be useful for skimming large amounts of text or getting a general overview, it often comes at the cost of comprehension and retention, especially for complex or nuanced material. Our brains need time to process, analyze, and integrate information. Rushing through text can lead to superficial understanding and missing key details. For deep learning, critical thinking, or enjoying literature, a slower, more deliberate reading pace is often far more effective. So, while increasing your reading speed can be a useful skill for certain tasks, it's not a universal metric for better reading. The goal should always be comprehension, not just speed. 85. You only fall in love once. This romantic myth, often perpetuated by fairy tales and classic literature, suggests that true love happens only once in a lifetime. The idea is that there's one soulmate, one perfect love, and if you lose it, you'll never experience that depth of feeling again. While first loves can be incredibly powerful and memorable, the notion that you can only fall in love once is a beautiful but ultimately untrue ideal. Human beings are capable of experiencing profound love multiple times throughout their lives. Hearts heal, and new connections can form, often leading to different but equally meaningful forms of love. People grow, change, and evolve, and so do their relationships. To believe you can only fall in love once can be incredibly limiting, leading to undue despair after a breakup or preventing you from opening yourself up to new possibilities. Love is a complex and varied emotion, capable of reappearing in different forms and with different people throughout life's journey. 86. Talent beats practice. Oh, they're just naturally talented. This phrase, often used to explain away exceptional performance, underpins the myth that innate talent is the primary determinant of success, overshadowing the importance of practice and hard work. While natural aptitude can certainly give someone an initial advantage in certain areas, numerous studies in psychology and performance have consistently shown that deliberate practice, perseverance, and dedication are far more crucial for achieving mastery. The 10,000-hour rule, though sometimes misunderstood, highlights the immense amount of focused effort required to become an expert. What often appears as talent is actually years of unseen practice, learning from failures, and continuous improvement. Relying solely on perceived talent can lead to complacency, while believing in the power of practice fosters a growth mindset and resilience. So, while a spark of talent might get you started, it's consistent, deliberate practice that truly fuels mastery and lasting achievement. 88. Phone use in storm. The myth that using a cell phone during a thunderstorm is dangerous because it attracts lightning is a common concern, often shared by well-meaning individuals. However, this is largely untrue. Cell phones operate on radio waves, which are not capable of attracting lightning. Lightning is attracted to the tallest objects in an area and to conductive materials that provide a path to the ground. While holding a metal object, like an older model phone with a metal casing, or even being near other metal objects, could theoretically make you a slightly better conductor if you are outdoors and exposed, the phone itself doesn't attract the lightning strike. The real danger during a thunderstorm is being outdoors, regardless of whether you're using a phone or not. If you're caught outside, you are at risk. The phone, it's not the hazard. Your location is. So, while it's safest to be inside during a storm, your phone use won't increase your risk of being struck. 89. Handwriting shows personality. Graphology, the study of handwriting to determine personality traits, intelligence, or even future health, is a persistent myth that has been around for centuries. The idea is that the way someone forms their letters, the pressure they apply, or the slant of their writing can reveal deep insights into their character. However, despite its popularity in some circles, graphology is widely considered a pseudoscience by the scientific community. Numerous studies have failed to find any consistent, reliable correlation between handwriting characteristics and personality traits. While trained forensic document examiners can analyze handwriting for authenticity or to detect forgeries, focusing on unique motor patterns rather than personality, they do not claim to discern personality. Factors like mood, writing surface, and even the pen used can influence handwriting. So, while your handwriting might be unique to you, it won't reveal whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, nor will it predict your future. 90. You have a soulmate out there. The romantic notion of a single soulmate, one perfect person destined for you, waiting somewhere in the world, is a beautiful and enduring myth. This idea, often found in movies and novels, suggests that there's only one person who can truly complete you, and that finding them is the key to eternal happiness. While it's lovely to imagine, the concept of a single soulmate can be detrimental. It creates unrealistic expectations for relationships, implying that any struggle or imperfection means you haven't found the one. It also puts immense pressure on a single individual to fulfill all your needs and desires. The truth is, love is a choice, a journey, and a partnership built through effort, communication, and mutual growth. You can have deep, meaningful connections with many people throughout your life, and love can take many forms. Rather than searching for a mythical perfect match, it's more empowering to cultivate a healthy, loving relationship with a compatible partner you choose. 90. Chameleons match every color. Chameleons are famous for their incredible ability to change color, leading to the popular myth that they can match any background perfectly, instantly blending into a rainbow of hues. While their camouflage is indeed impressive, the idea that they can match every color is an exaggeration. Chameleons primarily change color not just for camouflage, but also for communication, temperature regulation, and to express their mood, e.g., fear, aggression, courtship. Their color-changing ability is limited to a range of colors and patterns that are genetically programmed for their species and their typical habitat. They can shift between browns, greens, yellows, and sometimes blues, but they can't suddenly turn plaid or bright pink. The speed and extent of their color change depend on the species, their emotional state, and environmental factors. So, while they're masters of disguise within their natural palette, they're not capable of instantaneous, universal color mimicry. 90. Learning style defines learning. The learning styles myth is incredibly popular in education. The idea that individuals learn best when information is presented in a specific modality, e.g., visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and that tailoring instruction to these preferences significantly improves learning outcomes. While people certainly have preferences for how they receive information, decades of scientific research have consistently failed to find evidence that matching instruction to a student's self-reported learning style actually improves learning. This is known as the meshing hypothesis, and it has been largely debunked. What does improve learning is using a variety of teaching methods, engaging multiple senses, and employing active learning strategies. Focusing too much on a perceived learning style can be limiting, as it implies that a student can only learn in one way, rather than encouraging them to adapt and develop different learning strategies. So, while it's good to be aware of preferences, don't let the learning styles myth dictate how you learn or teach. 93. Natural means it's safe. The word natural often carries a powerful connotation, leading to the myth that if something is natural, it must inherently be safe, healthy, or good for you. This is a dangerous misconception. The natural world is full of incredibly potent and toxic substances, from poisonous mushrooms and venomous snakes to deadly nightshade and arsenic, all of which are natural. Conversely, many beneficial and safe substances are synthetic or processed. The safety and efficacy of a substance depends on its chemical composition, dosage, and how it interacts with the human body, not simply whether it occurs in nature. This myth is often exploited by marketing campaigns for various products, from supplements to beauty items, to imply superior safety or health benefits without scientific backing. So, always exercise caution and seek evidence-based information, regardless of whether a product or substance is labeled natural. Nature isn't always benign. 94. Lightning strikes are rare. What are the chances lightning strikes are so rare? This common sentiment fuels the myth that being struck by lightning is an incredibly improbable event, making people complacent about seeking shelter during storms. While the odds of being struck by lightning in a given year are indeed low for an individual, lightning strikes are far from rare globally, and the risk increases significantly if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. Lightning strikes the Earth approximately 100 times every second, resulting in millions of strikes worldwide each day. In the United States alone, hundreds of people are struck by lightning annually, with dozens of fatalities and many more injuries. The danger is real, and the myth of rarity can lead to dangerous complacency. The most important thing is to always take thunderstorms seriously and seek safe shelter immediately when you hear thunder or see lightning, regardless of how rare you perceive the threat to be. 95. You cannot refreeze thawed meat. This myth, often passed down in kitchens, states that you can never refreeze meat or other foods once they have been thawed. The concern is primarily about food safety and quality. While there's a grain of truth to the quality aspect, the absolute cannot refreeze rule for safety is often misunderstood. If raw meat or poultry has been thawed in the refrigerator and kept at a safe temperature, below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius, it is generally safe to refreeze it, although there might be some loss of quality, texture, moisture due to cell damage from ice crystals. However, if meat has been thawed outside the refrigerator at room temperature, or if it has been partially cooked, it should not be refrozen, as bacteria can multiply rapidly in the danger zone between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So, the rule is nuanced. Refreezing is generally safe if thawed properly in the fridge, but it's best to cook thawed food first before refreezing for both safety and quality. 96. Stomach growling means hunger. The rumbling sound from your stomach, often called growling or rumbles, is almost universally interpreted as a sign of hunger. While it often does accompany hunger, the myth that stomach growling only means you're hungry is incorrect. The scientific term for these sounds is borborygmi, and they are caused by the normal movement of fluids and gas through your intestines as part of the digestive process. These contractions occur whether your stomach is full or empty. When your stomach is empty, there's less food to muffle these sounds, making them more noticeable and leading us to associate them with hunger. However, your stomach can growl even after you've eaten, as it continues to digest food. It can also be influenced by certain foods, gas, or even stress. So, while a growling stomach can certainly be a cue to grab a snack, it's not the exclusive indicator of an empty belly. 97. Burning ears means gossip. My ears are burning. Someone must be talking about me. This old superstition, found in various cultures, is a charming myth that connects a physical sensation to social activity. The idea is that if your ears feel hot or tingly, it's a sign that someone is gossiping about you, either positively or negatively. While it's a fun thought, there's no scientific basis for this belief. The sensation of burning ears is typically caused by increased blood flow to the earlobes, which can be triggered by a variety of physiological factors. These include changes in temperature, blushing due to embarrassment or anger, allergic reactions, hormonal fluctuations, or even certain medical conditions. It's a localized physiological response, not a psychic indicator of someone's conversation. So, next time your ears feel hot, don't jump to conclusions about your social standing. It's far more likely to be a benign bodily reaction than a sign of a secret discussion. 98. All snakes are venomous. The fear of snakes is widespread, often intensified by the myth that all snakes are venomous and therefore dangerous. This is a significant misconception. In reality, the vast majority of snake species around the world are non-venomous and harmless to humans. Only about 15 to 20% of the world's approximately 3,900 species are considered venomous, and even fewer are dangerously venomous to humans. Non-venomous snakes kill their prey through constriction, like pythons and boas, or simply overpower them. While all snakes have teeth and can bite, a bite from a non-venomous snake is typically no more dangerous than a scratch from a cat, though it can still transmit bacteria and should be cleaned. The myth likely stems from a primal fear and a lack of education about snake biology. So, while it's wise to always give snakes a wide berth and admire them from a distance, remember that most of them are not out to harm you. 99. Hot water opens pores. This is a common belief in skincare routines, that hot water opens your pores, allowing for deeper cleansing, and cold water closes them. The myth suggests that pores are like tiny doors that can be manipulated by temperature. However, this is anatomically incorrect. Pores are not muscles and do not have the ability to open and close. They are simply the openings of hair follicles and sebaceous glands. What hot water does do is cause blood vessels in the skin to dilate, which can make pores appear more prominent. The steam from hot water can also help to loosen hardened sebum and dirt within the pores, making them easier to cleanse, but it doesn't physically open the pore itself. Cold water, conversely, can temporarily constrict blood vessels, making pores appear smaller, but again, it doesn't close them. For effective skincare, lukewarm water is generally recommended to avoid stripping natural oils or irritating the skin. 100. Vikings wore horned helmets. The image of a Viking warrior storming ashore, clad in a fearsome helmet adorned with large horns, is iconic and deeply ingrained in popular culture. However, this is a complete historical myth. There is absolutely no archaeological evidence to suggest that Vikings ever wore horned helmets in battle or for any other purpose. The few horned helmets found from the Bronze Age predate the Viking Age by thousands of years and were likely ceremonial, not for combat. The myth of the horned Viking helmet actually originated in the 19th century. It was popularized by Swedish artist August Malmström in his illustrations, and most notably by costume designer Carl Emil Doppler for an 1876 production of Richard Wagner's opera Der Ring des Nibelungen. This theatrical flourish became so widespread that it mistakenly seeped into our collective historical consciousness. Real Viking helmets were typically simple, conical, or dome-shaped, sometimes with nose guards, designed for practicality and protection, not for dramatic, horned aesthetics. 100. Columbus discovered America. And finally, let's end with one of the most enduring and politically charged myths, that Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1492. While his voyages marked a pivotal moment in European exploration and the beginning of sustained European colonization, the idea of him discovering a continent that was already inhabited by millions of indigenous peoples for thousands of years is profoundly inaccurate and dismissive. People had been living and thriving across North and South America for at least 15,000 years before Columbus arrived. Furthermore, Columbus wasn't even the first European to reach the Americas. Norse explorer Leif Erikson landed in North America, present-day Canada, around 1000 CE, nearly 500 years earlier. Columbus's discovery is better understood as the beginning of European colonization and its devastating impact on indigenous populations, rather than the revelation of an empty, unknown land. It's time to retire this myth and acknowledge the rich pre-existing history of the Americas. And there you have it, 101 everyday myths thoroughly busted and laid to rest. From the depths of our brains to the furthest reaches of space, and even the history books, it turns out many things we know simply aren't true. We hope you've enjoyed this journey of unlearning and that you'll now approach common wisdom with a healthy dose of skepticism. Remember, the world is a fascinating place, and the truth is often far more interesting than the myths we create. Keep questioning, keep learning, and stay curious. Thanks for watching.